Hey, horror fans, once again, it's the Horror Miser Monty G. Yes, trying to do a special video that I've been seeing going around on the horror community, and that's actually talking about horror movies that were released the year you were born. And I had to do this one. Now, keep in mind, this is not really a tag video. This is something that's been going around. This is like I've been seeing a lot of videos. Some people are doing top 10 remakes, top 10 overrated horror movies. And I think Brad from Bronco and Juggalos Talks Movies, he actually did a top 5 worst horror remakes. I watched that one. That was a pretty good one. I'm probably going to do that one too. But this video I saw recently, I think Jen's Reviews in the Graves did one. And I believe Brad did one as well. So obviously I decided to do one myself. Because I was born in the year 1963. Yes. Yes. Come August 25th, I will be 56 years old. I have no qualms to tell about how old I am. Hey, most people refer me as Grandpa Horror. The fact that I am a grandfather. But yes, but actually talking about the movies that were released the year I was born, I find it quite fascinating because as a old school horror aficionado, I get to talk about some of the great old school horror classics that I actually seen, when I was growing up watching horror pictures. So here are some of the top horror pictures that came out the year that I was born. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about, or one of the movies I wanted to talk about, was a 1963 American horror splatter film called Blood Feast. Now, this was shot and directed by Herschel Gordon Lewis. Now, if you don't know who this guy is, he is known as the godfather of gore. Anytime you mention his name in a horror movie, you know that there's going to be blood, gore, and guts all over it. He had a lot of what we call, he had a lot of exploitation films, or called splatter films, because it was so full of gore and blood and any which way. Really didn't have any great acting, wasn't really filmed great, the cinematography might be awful, but you better expect to find some blood and gore. And of course, nude women, because that's what he was known for. But Blood Feast, it was one of his early horror movies that came out in the year that I was born. I really don't know that much of a plot. I just know it was full of guts and blood, gore, and naked ladies. Now, another one of the movies that came out during the year I was born was called A Comedy of Terrors. Now, obviously, this starred Vincent Price, Peter Lorre, and Boris Karloff. It was this dishonest caretaker, Waldo Thumble, and his sidekick, Felix Giles, are creating their own customers when they cannot find willing ones. I think it was supposed to be, I think a Tale of Terrors that came out earlier in the year. So now we have Economy of Terrors. It was a funny, nice little horror picture. Once again, Vincent Price being the great Vincent Price that he was. Boris Karloff was doing great. I think he also narrated some of the early parts of the movie when the movie began. It was a nice, good combination of horror, suspense, and some comedy, because it was quite funny. I really enjoyed the picture. So, Comedy of Terrors, another one of the movies that were released in the year that I was born. Another movie that was released during in 1963 is called The Haunted Place. Once again, this was also starred Vincent Price, Lon Chaney, and Deborah Paget. This is her final film before she passed away. In this particular story, it was a story about a village held in the grip of a dead necromancer. The film was directed by George Roger Corman. It was also regarded as one of the series in 8 films largely based upon the works of Arthur Edgar Allan Poe. It was a nice, good horror picture. I enjoyed it a lot. I haven't seen it in a while, but when I was doing this video, I was looking back, picking some of the horror pictures. I just said, oh yeah, I remember this one. I love it because once again, you got the great Vincent Price and Lon Chaney Jr. What better can you get? 2 classic horror actors starring in this picture right now. So another one of the great horror pictures that came out in the year that I was born, The Haunted Place, or Palace. I'm sorry, Haunted Palace. Now, this one I thought was pretty interesting because I had forgotten this film was released in 1963, but it's Black Sabbath. 1963 horror anthology film directed by Mario Bava. The film is centered on three tales introduced by Boris Karloff. The first one is entitled The Telephone, which involves Rosie, who continues to receive threatening phone calls from an unseen stalker. The second one I believe it's called The Voldemort. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Where a man named Gorga returns to his family after claimed to have been slain by a Voldemort, an undead creature who attacked those that it once loved. And the third story is called The Drop of Water, which is centered upon Helen Corey, a nurse who steals a ring from a corpse that is being prepared for burial and finds herself haunted by the ring's original owner after arriving home. I loved horror. I think it's one of the first horror films, anthology horror films I saw growing up as a child. And I love all three stories. I thought the third one was the best story of them all. This is one of the first actual Italian horror films I actually saw growing up as a kid as well. So another film that I saw growing up as a kid that was released during the year I was born, Black Sabbath. And of course, we all have to remember The Raven. Yes, another film was released when I was born. This was another horror comedy. It was produced by Roger Corman and once again stars Vincent Price, Peter Lorre, and Boris Karloff as a trio of sorcerers. This was also cast a young Jack Nicholson back when he was starting out as an actor. This film was the fifth and the so-called Corman Poe cycle, 8 films featuring adaptations of Edgar Allan Poe's stories, obviously based on The Raven. This was an excellent film. All three actors do a great job in this particular film. It's one of my favorite classic old school horror films. And every time I get a chance to watch it, I watch it because it's such a great film. I love it to death. Once again, another one of my great films that was released on the year that I was born, The Raven. And of course, finally, what better way to end this than to talk about 1963's Alfred Hitchcock's classic, The Birds. Yes, produced and directed by Alfred Hitchcock, loosely based on a 1952 story of the same name. It was written by Daphne du Maurier. I think I pronounced that name right. Obviously, it tells a story of what would happen if our found feather friends decided to say, you know what, fuck humans, let's peck them all to death. It was a nice horror film that we saw throughout the day. Excellent storytelling, excellent direction by the master of suspense, Alfred Hitchcock. I always enjoyed this film. I think they tried at least once or maybe twice to remake this film. Both attempts have failed. I don't know if there's one or two remakes. Somebody might correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I remember I know there's one. I saw it, and I felt as though it's just totally inferior to the original film. But obviously, yes, Alfred Hitchcock, The Birds. So there you go, my horror fans. Those are the films, or 5 films, or I don't know how many films, I lost count, that I believe are the best films that were released on the year that I was born, 1963. yeah, some pretty good classic horror films that came out the year I was born. If you've not seen any of these films, I'm not saying that you have to do, but it would be nice if you actually take a look and see these films. Yeah, they might be outdated, and some of them might not appeal to some of the younger crowds. But it's always good to take a look and see where horror came from and see some of the influences some of the day's horror directors or producers get their ideas from, because some of the people that are in horror today get their ideas of how they craft their movies based on some of these movies that came out during the year that I was born, some even older. So that's my video for the day, guys. Hope you did enjoy, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up because it does help the channel a lot. And once again, if this is your first time here, please hit that subscriber button, ring that notification bell. That way you can come and enjoy the horror experience with me, the Horror Miser Monty G. And as always, all my social media links will be down in the description box below as well. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Monty G. And always remember, horror rules. Let's take us home. We're out.
Ha 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 ha!